Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem HaRakakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders, great most on the rule well, and Shalom to the brothers doing the work of sharing truth. Shalom to the elect brothers out there. Just wanted to kind of cover, given, like, especially in the UK, you've had, like, the whole racial tensions that have kind of been there mostly from like 2016, the kind of the new wave of it anyway. From like the Brexit vote, you've kind of had that new wave of like out here people being the native so-called Brits over here, the the mostly Edomites over here that have been here. They're feeling a certain way about having all these different nations coming over, and essentially now is kind of like, there's been a wave. There's mainly it's been off the back of the stabbing of like the three little girls. Well, it wasn't even stabbing. It was stabbing. I think it was like 11 people, 2 adults. I think the rest were kids, and then it was like 3 of the girls died. But I think some of them are still in critical condition. So it's not. There might be more. There might not be. But since that event popped off, it's kind of been like non-stop since, where it's like there's been like riots essentially over various different towns. Like over the weekend, over Saturday, primarily there was like shitloads of riots in various different cities. There's a video on it. So it was like Liverpool, Southport, Sunderland, I believe in Leeds as well, maybe. Can't even remember all of them off the top of my head. But, it brought to mind how, brothers are going to be persecuted. So I start on this, Acts 14:22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of the Most High. And yeah, through much tribulation, that's gonna have to be endured through to get into the kingdom. And it's gonna be part of that is us gonna be persecuted. These people in the and the people in the world, they're gonna, just as now you have it where it's been focused on the Muslims, but then it's like, even with that, with the incident, the guy that did it, like, there wasn't even no intel on him being a Muslim. It doesn't seem like the guy's a Muslim. It's just some whatever, it's some kid, some British kid or whatever. As far as the full details at present, who the fuck even knows? What really went down, and it seems wild though. But it's like, yeah, yes, like hella them, the little girls died, and now that was like, you go on Twitter, really shows like how that's being spun, because it was basically being spun as your little girls are dying and you guys are just losing your country, ain't doing shit. And that's kind of what galvanized a lot of this online shit behind man like Tommy Robinson and whatnot, where they're kind of pushing that. And he's done, that guy's gone over to like Italy, gone over to other places, and got in swingers with like migrants and shit. So he'll be on doing it out here, but he's obviously got that guy be put in a slammer for a hot minute if he got caught doing it out here. But then yeah, it's we're seeing it. There was a clip of like the Jake. I was gonna do a little video, just kind of looking at that specifically, because it's more of a it's well, you see it, brother, see it, and it will just kind of confirm it in your mind that, like, yeah, it's gonna be real easy. Because first of all, the guy was on his ones, and then he just got caught out there, and it's just like, I don't know what, like, he was a bit, especially with the the vibration has been out throughout the whole since this incident went down. I think like Wednesday or Tuesday when it happened. There's been all that racial violence. So for him to just be strolling, casually, I don't know what, like. Man had like flip flops, had sandals on as well, and I was like, bro, it's like you really don't, like, you're not in the state where you're ready to get into fisticuffs like that. But no, like I said, I'll do a little thing on the side on that after, Lord willing. So Wisdom of Solomon 5:1, it says, "Then shall a righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear." That's the other aspect of why they're gonna come against Jake is because, starting from the elite on down, they have that fear of Jake. Because why? These guys know it's like if Jake's in their right mind, if Jake's on point, Jake basically coming together, building up, that's something that causes fear. And that's why as well you kind of have had Israel be demonized, broadly anyway, where there's been various what's the term, they stereotypes and whatnot put on Jake. But then, for the men in the word as well, because we're not even the Jakes in the world, especially over here in the UK. Even in the States is a different kind of dynamic. But it's like over here in the UK, more likely than most of the Jakes are trying to integrate. They're trying to have some part of this kingdom. They're trying to have some kind of place within here to try and get love within here. There was an article on the Guardian talking about some black woman that was in, I believe, either the Navy or the Army. I think maybe I can't remember which one, the Navy or the Army. And then she was on advertising for the recruitment. And then I think she was in there for like 12 to 15 years, something like 10 years plus, a decade plus, she was in there. And then she was, what do you call it? A decade plus she was in there. And then and then afterwards she came out and she said she dealt with like legendary kinds of racism. They were calling her like a black bitch. They were saying like, yeah, it's like I don't normally fuck a black thing, but you kind of look all right. They'll like, the truth was coming out. Because obviously it's like it's a military environment, so the levels of rawness are going to be completely disconnected from how things function in regular society. Because obviously guys are going to be risking their lives. They're basically gonna. It's a whole different mindset of how they're how they're engaging. But then she's obviously gone in there thinking, oh, I'm just gonna be counted like just another British. I'm just fighting for the country. Nah, you're still a black bitch, as far as, and that's really how Jake. There's they're not gonna see themselves as one. Even you go to, was it Daniel 2, when it talks about the feet and the 10 toes. Says what? It said they'll not mingle together. They'll not be as one. Even all those different nations, the British and the French ain't even looking at themselves as like the same people. It's all Edom. But then why? It's because that's how the spirit's been set up, man. And then Jake trying to slide in there. There's no way in hell. There ain't no way in hell that's gonna run. But it says, well, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of their salvation, so far beyond all that they hope for. So yeah, they're going to be filled with, fear of Jake, and that's going to be another reason they come against him, man. And then you're going to have other Jake, coming against you, because they're like, yo, just why you rocking the boat, man? Just go along, man. They're going to be trying to find some kind of place, but what's the reality? Psalms 27:9, it says, hide not thy face far from me, Put not thy servant away in anger. Thou hast been my help. Leave me not, neither forsake me, O power of my salvation. When my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord Yahweh will take me up. And yeah, it says what, neither forsake me, power of my salvation. As far as what we'll need to be leaning upon is Yahweh Shai, man. That's the means by which we'll be sustained through those times. But then, because what you're gonna have, your father and your mother forsake you. Coming into the truth is already like some, you might still have some form of relationship with your parents. But then obviously being in a word, it creates friction. But then what? So it says, when my father and mother forsake me, then the Lord Yahweh will take me up. Teach me thy way, O Lord Yahweh, and lead me in the plain path because of mine enemies. Deliver me not over unto the will of mine enemies, for false witnesses are risen up against me, and such as breathe out cruelty. So yeah, we're essentially it's already in the midst, but then it's gonna intensify as well to what those false witnesses. Could you have these different incidents happen, where like you have the guy from IUIC, where they'll get in the news, they might kill someone, kill their wife or whatever, and then they'll try and plaster the whole, like, it was an Israelite XYZ, but then that's got nothing to do with it. Now, if a random Christian goes out and starts axe murdering people, every other Christian doesn't have to, to account for that. But obviously what they're trying to do is plaster, the Israelites with a certain brush. And it's the same thing that happened with Yahweh Shai. That's why it's, the servant's not greater than his master. Just as, Yahweh Shai experienced it, it's going to be the same thing for us. And then, like I said, for false witnesses are risen up against me. And that's why it's like bearing false witness, that's in the law. Because as far as, you bear false witness, you can get someone put to death off the back of that. You can, that's something that's incredibly deadly. But what do you have? Like, now we're in a time where it's like there's like very little to no account for doing that. It's something that just is normal. There's various other laws where it's like you kind of go into it and it's just like, yeah, those kind of behaviors can be done with no accounting for that. Because why? That's we're in the midst of Esau system. It's wickedness, running loose, running rampant at present. And I'll move on to it. Matthew 10:16 says, what? Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And yeah, we're essentially like sheep amongst wolves. Because the thing is as well, is just as Yahweh Shai was on his journey, basically had to, go about and fulfill what he was, the role he had to fill, with knowing in the end that he was going to have to be crucified, have to be put to death in a gruesome manner, to the point where it was sweat and blood, because it was like, if there's any other way, but then it needs to be done. It's going to be the same for us that following his stead. We also are going to have to basically know that, hey, in the time of the end, you really got to be in a mindset of ready to receive that persecution. That's why I was going to do the video on that, that Jake getting surrounded, because why? It kind of, it shows how it's just going to switch. Because that's like over the course of a week, you had like one or two incidents to where it's like now it's basically come to a fever pitch. And it seemed to just drop out of nowhere. But then again, it's like, especially with, you have these metropolitan areas in these big hub cities, where you have that big melting pot of everyone together. where they kind of have that illusion of, oh, it's all peace and love, peace and love. Everyone's listening to Bob Marley, One Love. And it's all meant to be, peaceable. That's something that's just, a myth. It doesn't really exist. It's most people just kind of, they'll present a front, but then, when they're dealing in private, they're like, oh, fuck these people, man. So you got the term people of color. Like anyone that's not white is just immediately all combined and together. And that's really that American kind of view on these things, because everyone's just trying to be American. But then part of what's created the friction is you had a lot of these nations now, but they don't really integrate. It's like over here in the UK, you'll have these regions where the Polish will just come, and then they'll have the Polish shops, they'll have the Polish all the different companies and whatnot. They have like houses where it'll just be filled with like Poles just coming over. They all speak Polish. They'll some of them will learn a bit of English. They'll scarcely learn English. They'll work for their 4 or 5 years, buy their house, buy whatever, set themselves up in Poland and go the fuck back. And then whilst they're here, they'll be completely decimating the British in any field they're setting themselves up in. Like the builders was one of the key ones. Them Polish builders do legendary work, and that just was decimating the British. So it's like all that we're in the midst. We know all these tensions are here, and now it's kind of being faced. Turned on Elam, turned on Islam or whatnot. But then it's gonna come round to to the brothers. Because why? We're basically following after Yahushua. Just as Yahushua was persecuted, we're gonna be persecuted, and we just basically have to stay on our watch. Obviously be circumspect. For guys just running up on you, ain't mean you're just gonna have to stand there and get walloped in the head. Obviously, man are gonna have to be aware. Like if there's a fucking riot breaking out, we obviously can't just be out there in the midst of the riot, trying to prophesy, because it's man are gonna have to find a new spot. But then that's something to be wary of, man. It says what? But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and will scourge you in the synagogues, and ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. And you'll be brought before councils, before before governors and kings. And that's, all these things are going to happen in the modern day as well, where you'll be brought before different leaders. And then what does it say? But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what you shall speak. So it will come down to the Spirit, basically. Will have you curse these guys out, man, through the Spirit. It's all going to be according to the Scriptures. You'll be telling them, who the real Israelites are, that they're going into slavery. They're going to be jacked up. And then what? Their kingdom's going to come to an end, man. In a nuclear fireball. These, the spirits, obviously, whoever those men are, the Spirit will be put on them. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what you shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what you shall speak. For it's not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. And it's all going to be through the Spirit. And that as well is even whatever tribulations, whatever trials are given, it's going to be through the Spirit too. And then it'll be a thing where it's like if you're of the elect, you'll be given in measure. And then it's like up until we receive, as we're building up towards that, presently you'll be given a measure to build you up for what what's going to come. The hardships now the trials, the tribulations now, those are all going to be for, those are all going to be, you know, basically building you up, you know, compounding you, making sure of your foundation for when them times come, man. So you got to take it cheerfully. All them tribulations, man, take it with cheer. So Matthew 5:10, blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. So yeah, all this, you know, all that they will be saying will be what? For Yahweh's sake, for the sake of the word. Ain't gonna be, you know, if it's you know, you're in the world and you're getting in swingers over, you know, man, ain't gonna be for no carnal, you know, it's no carnal nonsense, man. It's gonna be for the spiritual matters, for the word, for going out, for teaching this word, for holding fast onto this word. Same with, you know, as what you call it, the MOTB, for not, you know, not taking any persecutions for that. Those, you know, it's all for Yahweh Shai, it's all for the word. And that's the thing that, you know, all these, we're meant to be gearing up our minds continually to be ready to just be like, yo, that becoming the norm. Because as I said, blessed are you when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. And yeah, that means, it shows you're coming in that same spirit, coming in that same stead of, you know, the prophets that came before. Because you had just, you know, like Yahweh Shai, basically coming in that same spirit, to where it's, you know, all as one, all in one accord. And then it's just as, you know, the people in the world then, just as those Jakes, where the spirit went on them, they were coming against Yahweh Shai, they were trying to trip him up. They were glad and celebrating when it was put to death. It's going to be the same with us. You're going to have those same spirits, you know, Lord willing, part of the elect. Then, you know, we'll receive that same persecution. You have those same people, you know, going against us. But then, you know, we get the last laugh. Because our reward is, you know, there's a reward for all that persecution. We're doing it for it to an end. You know, just as Yahweh Shai received his reward now. Yeah, Matthew 27:11. And Yahushua stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, Art thou the king of the Jews? And Yahushua said unto him, Thou sayest. So yeah, the all those what's it say? Well, verse 12. And then he was accused of the chief priests and elders, and he answered nothing. So all those, you know, false what's it? Not false accusers, bearers of false witness, you know, came against Yahweh Shai, and he just had to hold it. Because why? Yahweh Shai knew what the end result was going to be, and they had to go through with it. It's going to be the same for us. We're going to have, you know, you're going to have those amongst your family come against you, you know, geezers at work. It's, you know, it's a good example of that is what do you call it, the Matrix, man, where you have like Neo when he's the final scene when he's escaping, where it's everyone, you know, you might just bump into some. The first guy I think is like when he snatches the phone off someone, and he's like, "Hey, that's my phone." Then he calls up Tank, and then Tank, you know, Tank's giving him directions, and the guy just ends up, you know, turns into an agent, starts shooting him. And then it's like everyone he kind of goes past, then it'll start turning into agents. You've got, you know, goes into the apartments, there's old women there with a knife, just like, oh. then just dashes and turns into Agent, dashes a knife at him. That's how it's gonna, essentially gonna be. Everyone's gonna be crawling out of the woodwork. People you wouldn't even know. We're gonna be eager to bear false witness. Why? Part of it is gonna be because that filthy lucre's sake, man, that money's sake. A lot of these guys that they could be either guys that fell out or guys from under these other guys where they're teaching some madness. They they can be enticed. A lot of these guys, the reason they fell out is what, enticed by the world. If they say, look, just bear the false witness and you be nice, man. We'll get you a nice position within the thing. They'll come out, they'll do it. You'll be like, damn, I never even met this guy. This guy's talking like he knows my whole life story. But hey, is what it is. And that's going to manifest as, violence, aggression as well. Because what happened with Yahweh Shaul, man, he put to death, man. There's going to be, brothers as well that we put to death. Is what it is, man. And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate unto him, hearest thou not these many things they witness against thee? And he answered him to never a word, insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Yeah. You're thinking like, damn, these guys have come out with legendary accusations. But hey, that's how it's going to be, man. It's, it's going to shake out. It should, you should expect it. Should be ready for that. But yeah, I'll leave it there, man. Shalom. Shalom.